Okay, so welcome to the first panel of today's session. So Find Your Future, where I'm going to be talking over how you can break into the public and non-profit sectors. So my name's Laura Messenger and I am a careers consultant here at the university. So the format of today's session, I'm going to talk for about kind of 15 minutes or so, and then we'll have the opportunity for questions at the end. It is quite broad. The public and non-profit sectors are very large, so it's going to be quite a high level overview, giving you insight into some of the different roles and organisations, some work experience opportunities and ways to kind of get graduate roles within the session. So like I said, I'll talk for about 15 minutes, but please do feel free to think of any questions. Just a quick bit of housekeeping as well before we get started. So as I've said, the session is being recorded today. So if you don't want to appear on the recording, please do keep your camera off. I said there'll be that opportunity to ask questions as well. So anything that you might have, please feel free to type these as they come up in the chat box. I will be waiting till the end of the presentation to answer the questions, but if they pop into your mind, just pop them in the chat box. If you'd rather say them out loud, ask in person, please do feel free to raise your hand and we can put a microphone on for a chat at the end. Okay, so let's move into the session. So I've broken it into two parts, starting off with the public sector and then the non-profit sector. There is some overlap as we go through. So first of all, what is the public sector? So public sector organisations are those that are owned by the government. So they provide goods and services for the benefit of the community. So as I said, it's a pretty broad sector. The ONS latest figures say that there are 5.68 million people working in the public sector, and they work in areas including local and central government, healthcare, law enforcement and security, social care and education. So you can see the image on the right hand side. These are stats from the Office for National Statistics and shows how much of the workforce is working in each of the sectors. So as you can see, the National Health Service has the biggest proportion, closely followed by education and then public administration, which would fall under kind of government areas. So quite a wide variety of different roles that you can get involved in the public sector. So this is a quick snapshot of some of the different roles. This is by no means all of the different roles, just a few examples that might fall under the different sectors and some that you may potentially be interested in. So again, the ONS estimates that there are around 300 different types of roles within the public sector. So we've got things kind of in government, around kind of government work, policy work, administration, and a whole variety of other things. So some of the roles you see under some of these sectors would also have an equivalent in the private sector. So it's worth considering why the public sector might be better for you. So some people potentially decide they want to work in the public sector because of job stability, things like good pensions, good working hours. So considering actually why you want to do this role in the public sector as opposed to the private sector. So what I've put at the top of the slide as well is a link to a website called prospects.ac.uk where you can find out more information about these roles. So there's a whole load of job profiles on there that tell you more information about what you do day to day, what qualifications you need, ways so you can get work experience. So it's a really good site to go and have a look at if you want to find out more about any of these roles or see what other roles might be available. So entry requirements, as I said, very broad sector. So very broadly speaking, a lot of these roles, particularly in government, can be open to people from any degree background, but you may find that certain roles, particularly maybe in the health sector or roles such as teaching or social work, will require a specific course or that you do an additional qualification. So for example, for teaching, you will need to make sure that you get qualified teacher status, which is usually through doing a PGCE. But like I said, generally speaking, they take people from a wide variety of different courses. So it may be that you're eligible to do these roles. One thing that is very important is that you have an interest in public issues, particularly in the area that you're thinking about applying to, and that you can demonstrate relevant skills and experience. So some of the top skills that they're looking for in the public sector, I've listed on the slide, things like organisation, creativity, interpersonal skills, prioritisation, decision making, and particularly for graduate roles, they're looking for people with leadership abilities that you can demonstrate in that way. So even if you don't have direct related experience, it's worth thinking what skills you have and seeing if you can evidence any of these. Which leads me on to work experience, which is an excellent way to be able to demonstrate your relevance for a role. So it could be that your course is directly related and you can pick up on some really great experience there, but it could be that you need some other experiences to demonstrate as well. So a few examples of some work experience that you can get in the public sector. There are instances of formal internships and placements. So these could be summer internships or placement years, particularly within the civil service. They run an early diversity internship program and a summer diversity internship program. They also have various internships and placements for the various government departments. So it's worth having a look at those if there's any that you're interested in. There's also formal work experience with institutions such as the Bank of England and the Financial Conduct Authority. If you're interested in that teaching space as well, that's where work experience is going to be really crucial, so you can demonstrate knowledge of the sector and understanding of the role. So if you go on the government Get Into Teaching website, you can actually find some related school experience. You can go in and shadow there as well. In addition to formal internships and placements, there might be some areas where you can't get a particular internship, either it's too competitive or they might not offer something. It's worth thinking how you could get that experience. So could you contact someone that you're interested in and ask about work shadowing? Could you go in for a day or two to find out what it's like? Or could you do some volunteering? And it's worth thinking about ways that you can develop those relevant skills in a different way. So it might be, like I said, you can't get that directly related experience, but you could build up some of those skills that are needed, from anything from kind of taking responsibility in your course, being a course rep, getting involved in a society, taking on a society role there. Part-time jobs are really good at showing some of these skills, or actually looking at internships that might be in a different space but will build up some relevant skills and experience there. So what I would say is it's really important to help you stand out, getting some work experience, so think about what you can do in that space. In terms of actually finding those graduate jobs in the public sector, there are a couple of different routes. So you may have heard of something called graduate schemes, which tend to be kind of 1 or 2 year programs that fast track you. So they're specifically for graduates, tend to build up leadership skills, and they allow you entry into a particular work area. So there are a few links on the slides. I will send you the slides afterwards, so don't worry too much about that. But I've put a couple of examples of some of the kind of top graduate schemes for the public sector. So, for example, we've got the government with the civil service fast stream, which has 15 different streams, anything from kind of diplomacy to kind of general management, economics. And they are one of our panelists today in one of the other panel sessions, so it could be that you speak to them. Or for local government, there's the National Graduate Development Programme. There's also a few examples from social work where you can actually get training on the job and get a qualification at the end from frontline or step up to social work. And a few others for the different sectors, such as the NHS Graduate Management Training Programme, things like Police Now, Teach First, and Unlocked Graduates for those who wish to work in the prison. So there are a few of those set graduate schemes. They can be very competitive, so it's really important that you take the time to research them thoroughly and make sure that you're really standing out in those applications. The other route is just applying for general entry-level graduate jobs. So like I said, the graduate schemes can be very competitive, and it's actually a small number of people that enter the public sector through those roles. So it's actually a case of just looking out for any other graduate entry roles that they have advertised. So again, for example, if you wish to work in government, there's a civil service jobs website where they advertise a lot of different roles for a lot of the different departments in government. Or looking for more kind of local government roles, having a look at local council websites, Newcastle City Council, Northumberland County Council, in having a look at it that way. The civil service actually have a really good career matcher tool as well, where you can go through and answer some questions. So if you're not quite sure what you might want to do in government, it can make some suggestions of roles that might be of interest there as well. Put a few other links on the slide there as well. So if you're interested in getting into teaching, like I said, the very self-explanatory Get Into Teaching website there has more information about the different routes that you can go into teaching, and then some other useful job sites as well in terms of health careers, NHS jobs, and some government sites there as well. What I've also put a link to in the bottom right hand corner is our website, our careers website called Explore Occupations. So it's got information about different sectors, and if you click into those, it can give you some more specific sites to have a look for some of the roles, whether it's graduate jobs, internships. So if you're finding that you want to find more roles, I'd recommend having a look at that site as well. So moving swiftly on to a non-profit sector, like I said, there's quite a lot of overlap here, another very broad sector. So definition by Cambridge English Dictionary of non-profit is an organisation that is not intended to make a profit, but to make money for a social or political purpose or to provide a service that people need. So examples of some different organisations there, like I said, a really wide range of different roles and organisations that are in this sector. So from charities to NGOs, small to medium-sized enterprises and social enterprises. So there's a whole range of different things. So it's worth, if you've decided that you want to work in the non-profit sector, consider what type of organisation you might want to work for. So is there an issue that you're particularly interested in? Do you want to kind of work in animal welfare, conservation, social or political issues? Have a think about what type of organisation you might want to work in to help you narrow down the search. So I've just put a couple of stats here from the NCBO to give you an idea of how many charities are in the UK. So currently we estimate there are around 163,000 charities in the UK. So that's quite a wide range of people that you could choose to work for. And actually they employ around 827,000 people, which is around 2.7% of the UK workforce. So what types of roles? Like I said, incredibly broad, and some of these roles again could be found in the private sector. So again, worth considering, what is it about the non-profit sector that most interests you? So it could be anything from kind of hands-on role in the field to kind of back office administration, giving advice, working with people, campaigning. There could be policy in there, fundraising, HR, marketing and PR, getting research or retail. So like I said, there's a whole different range of roles that you could be interested in working in. So it's worth thinking, actually, what do I want to be doing day to day? What am I most interested in? And what types of role could I be doing? Because the sky's the limit there. And like I said, worth considering why the non-profit sector. Often people are most interested in it because they say they want to make a difference and have a real impact on the way, or they feel really passionate about a subject. It can be a more challenging sector. It does tend to be that salaries are lower than the private sector, but some people feel it's kind of got more value for them, and kind of that's the biggest thing that's most important to them. So work experience. There is very limited paid work experience, just because obviously it's not a profit-making business. They're there to kind of make a difference and have an impact. But I've given an example there that Cancer Research UK do actually offer paid work experience. So I believe that's a 12-week experience. They're in a range of different areas such as finance. But alternatively, there are other places that offer unpaid internships, so more formal internships where you can perform a range of functions. And I've put that they tend to be with the larger charities there, so people like Amnesty International, the British Red Cross, Macmillan, Oxfam. Because the larger organisations have the people and the structures in place to be able to offer formal opportunities. But what you will find is most often volunteering is going to be the best experience. Whether you can volunteer with the organisation you want to apply for a job for, that's absolutely great. But more generally, volunteering as well to show your passion and your interest in the area. So a few places to have a look at those are looking at the organisation's websites directly, having a look at the Newsu Go volunteer site as well. There's a website called doit.life, and there's also the Volunteer Centre Newcastle, which advertise some local volunteering opportunities. So what I would say is these are really valuable and really important to demonstrate when thinking about applying for a non-profit role. So I'd really encourage you, if you haven't already, to look at getting some voluntary experience. It can even be getting involved in societies, helping with fundraisers, anything like that that you can get involved in. What you'll see in the bottom right hand corner as well, I've mentioned that you may potentially be eligible for the Career Insight Bursary that can support you to get unpaid work experience if that's something that's a bit more difficult in terms of kind of not having a salary there. So there's the link on the slide if you want to find out more about that and explore whether you're eligible there. In terms of graduate jobs, again, like the work experience, there are limited formal graduate schemes. There is something called Charity Works, which is kind of the overall graduate scheme for the charity sector, which is a 12-month placement working with a partner organisation such as Aid UK or the NSPCC. So that is a paid role, but it can be incredibly competitive because there are so many limited opportunities, but it's worth having a look into if that's something you're interested in. And there are a few larger organisations that offer graduate entry routes as well, which I've just put a few examples of on the slide there. Like I said, with the kind of public sector, obviously a lot of people just go into general graduate jobs, entry level roles. So a few places where you can search for some of those roles as well. Key site is charity jobs, as well as third sector jobs. And I've put the link there for the Voluntary Organisations Network Northeast, where you can find some local opportunities as well. So in terms of who you could speak to today, we have got a few panels on today. So I've put some of the logos of the different people. I would really recommend going to those panels, asking some questions, finding out more about them, how they can help you, what experience would be useful. So have a look and sign up to any of those panels if they are of interest. And just to round off there with a few kind of further resources and some extra support, I've put a few links again to our Explorer Occupations, to the Prospects site that I mentioned, Target Jobs, and there's a link to our Careers Service website as well, where you can find a whole list of where to find some graduate roles. We also offer support if you want to kind of ask any questions, not sure what you want to do, want to find out a bit more. We've got drop-in appointments between 11 till 1 in Kingsgate, Monday to Friday, or you can book online via My Career. Perfect. So I appreciate there was quite a lot of information there, kind of rattled through, but now is the chance for you to ask any questions. Has anyone got any questions at all, whether you want to put them in the chat or raise your hand and turn your microphone on? If you feel more comfortable, I can stop the recording and see. Okay, I'll stop the recording and then see if anyone would like to ask any further questions.